The Sauerkraut Factory and Helicopters, Stories from My Life. The Sauerkraut Factory and Helicopters, Stories from My Life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, you know how I love to share stories from my life, and I love hearing other people's stories equally as well. And so here goes another story. This is from about 20 years ago when my children were babies and toddlers, and we were living on a barrier island with a beach and beautiful. It was an island about 2 miles long. We still live there part-time. But at that time, we lived there full time. And so every morning I would put my little children in the little Red Ryder wagon. They were so small, they could all three fit in there. And I would wheel them out onto the beach, and we would take bread and feed it to the seagulls. It was just such a magical, wonderful time of our lives, of my life especially. And we had this big, long, screened-in porch on the front of our house. And so it's set up a bit, you know, because that's how houses are built on an island. They're set up a little bit in case there's flooding. And so whenever I would come home from the grocery store, or my husband would come home, the children would be out there, and that was kind of their play area where all their toys were. And they would see us pull up, and they would jump up and down screaming, "Mommy, Mommy, Daddy, Daddy, I love you, I love you." You know, they were just like so excited, like they hadn't seen us in years. And so they were always excited. And so if my husband was home with the kids and I went out, or he went out and I was home, whenever the parent would come in, you know, one of us would come in, they would just be excited. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful feeling to have that much love in my life. And so anyhow, my husband would travel a lot for his work at that time, for his career. And sometimes he'd be gone several months. And so little children, no matter how well you explain to them, they just don't understand that. They can't emotionally absorb what is taking place. And they can feel a certain sense of abandonment, I think. And so I wanted to avoid that, and I wanted to figure out a way to stay connected, for them to stay connected to Daddy while he was gone. And so the way we did it, we had a lot of little things we would do. We would send him packages and things like that, and make little cards. And yet one of the things I did, because we had helicopters that would come over the house all the time, because, you know, they were always checking the beach. So I would tell them that Daddy was in the helicopter waving at them. And they would get so happily excited out in the porch. Every time they saw a helicopter, they would jump up and down screaming, "There's Daddy, there's Daddy," and they'd be waving, and they would think that, you know, he was waving back. And I know it was a story I was telling them, but it kept them so happy during those times that my husband was gone. And so they would wave and wave and wave. And then another time, my husband was gone for an extended period of time, and I wasn't exactly sure if he was going to be back at the time he said. So I didn't want to tell the children because, well, they would be disappointed if he didn't show up. And so I put the 3 kids in the expedition. I had a big white expedition with 3 rows of seats and car seats in there. Put them each in their car seat, and on the way, I told them, I said, "You know what? We're going to the sauerkraut factory." Now, you all know that small children don't like sauerkraut. And they said, "Yuck, Mommy, we don't want to go to the sauerkraut factory." And I said, "Well, this is a special sauerkraut factory, and they're going to show us how to make sauerkraut." And so we got to where my husband was going to arrive at, and we sat in the waiting area. And my children said, "Well, when are we going to see how sauerkraut is made, Mommy?" And I said, "You just wait, you just wait." And all of a sudden, the doors opened up, and there's my husband, and he walks out. I have to tell you, my kids were screaming their heads off, so happy. They were so happy, happy, happy. And they were jumping up and down, and "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And so to this very day, they remember the sauerkraut factory, and often we laugh about it. We laugh about the sauerkraut factory and the helicopters, and they're still very endeared to helicopters. When a helicopter flies over, they look up. And I don't think any of my kids like sauerkraut to this day, but they love, love, love the sauerkraut story and what it means to them. So that's another story from my life. I hope you all are having an amazing day, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. From my house to your house, may God bless you, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.